The opinions expressed on this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Cable 14, its sponsors, or its shareholders, Cogeco Cable, Shaw Cable, and Source Cable Limited.
Welcome to Persistence Pays. Thanks for joining us. Today we're going to talk about color and how color can really help in your life, in your business, with marketing, all of those types of things. So I'm happy to have Angela Dacey in the studio with me today, and we're going to talk about colors and how color can really stimulate you, how it can work well in business, how it can work well in life. So Angela, thanks for being here. And first tell me, how did you get interested in color? What did that for you?
Well, thanks for having me. I always love to go back to the fact that I've loved color since I was a little kid. And I was like 5 years old getting the Crayola crayon box and seeing which color was the first one I wanted to pick at a 64. I can trace it back to then, loving color. But it wasn't until I was in my 20s and started owning my own company, getting into more alternative health and spiritual-based stuff, that I realized color really influences our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. And if we use it, I call it like food for the soul. Then we really can help ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So it was something that I just was a sponge in learning, and my company is 17 years old now, and when I do my personal development work or counseling work or I do training, it's always focused with color as my tool.
Okay, and you do corporate training as well, individual training and corporate training.
I do. Corporate, we're talking more color personality types and more marketing based with logos and branding. Personally, it's more about detoxing thoughts and feelings.
All right, great. Now, there's so many colors, and so what do you use as your basis for your colors?
The 7 colors of the rainbow, because they match something called the 7 chakras, which are spinning wheels of energy we have. So as much as we're a physical being, we're also an energetic being. So I match the 7 colors so that it falls across the board, and it's easy to learn, it's easy to understand, because everyone knows the 7 colors of the rainbow.
Can you give us an example of that?
Sure. I'll tie it in for you so you understand. So reds and oranges, for example, are very physically based colors. So reds are very grounding and passion and action oriented, which is why it's used in retail so much, to stimulate action and eating and buying. Oranges are very playful and fun, but very physically based. Yellow is when we start getting into the mentally oriented side, how we think, how our brains tick, what we concentrate on, our confidence and self-esteem, very different than the physical. Greens and blues are more emotionally based. Greens very much on how you give and receive. Okay, the nurturing side, the loving side. Blues are about communication of that. So how are you being authentic? How are you communicating? When we get into the purples, the indigos and violets, indigo is inner peace, and the violet's more the outer space of belief system, whether it's God or Allah or Jah. So it's about how do you tie spirituality into your life. So depending on what you need, you're going to gravitate to those colors, which is why you might have chosen the beautiful blue jacket today and why I chose to wear like a pink today. So we choose our colors, our home decor, our business colors for our business cards. They always seem to go with what we need and what our messages are for the day.
Yeah, and typically I wear red a lot. I love the color red. And this color I was told years ago not to wear. And this summer I wore it, and I got so many compliments everywhere I went when I wore this color that I thought, and I do feel really good in it. So It's interesting how when you put a color on, it can stimulate you. A lot of times, I mean, I know so many people that the only color they wear is black. And they go, oh, I got another black dress in my closet. But you know what? When you start to experience color, it really increases your excitement.
It does, completely. I know people love black. I mean, if you even look at me, I'm in black, but there's an element of color. So if you're a black fan, here's what I always say. Wear one thing of color. I don't care if it's earrings or a necklace or a bracelet. If you wear all black and nothing but black, you're actually suppressing emotions and telling people, I'm not going to show you who I am. Because color is about life, physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. So as soon as you put black on, you're like, I'm not going there. Now, in a funeral setting, it's about respect. It's not about you, it's about them.
Right.
That's fine. But when it comes to if you are out in public, if you're a teacher, if you're communicating in any way, if you're dealing with people, you want one element of color to say, I'm alive in here. Otherwise, you're just the person in the corner of the room, and nobody really can sense who you are. But when you wear a bright, gorgeous blue jacket or a necklace that's got punch to it or a funky piece of jewelry, people are like, wow, I want to go talk to them. They look kind of interesting.
You're more approachable.
Very much so.
Yeah, that's great. Now, I remember we were talking about the color yellow.
Yes.
Angela and I have had this conversation before, and yellow actually stimulates the brain. And you said whenever the kids are studying or they have a test, to look at having yellow around them. So tell me a little bit more about that.
Yellow is a fantastic color to stimulate the mind and the memory and concentration, which is why I laugh at yellow Post-it notes, because they help us remember. For kids or even adults who are in school, I like to recommend, use your studying with a yellow binder. Find yourself a yellow pencil case. Do something that's going to help you energetically focus at the same time that you're physically doing the work. And I even sell things like essential oils. So for example, this essential oil with rosemary in it, anything with yellow, like grapefruit, anything like that, is got the same frequency. Anything from Mother Earth has energy. So the frequency of the oil also does the same work. So I like to tell people, burn a scented candle, put some essential oil, real stuff, real aromatherapy, on a Kleenex. And then when you go into the exam, if you're stuck, take a little sniff of that Kleenex, and it's like your brain will trigger, and it's going to remember. So it's just a great way. You can even put a couple drops on a yellow Post-it note. Double the benefit. And it's just a way to stimulate your body to say, oh, I do remember. So yellow's fantastic for that.
And the other colors. Now, actually, yellow with memory. I know a lot of women start losing their memory at a certain point. You go into a room. I did that today. I went into a room like, what am I here for? So
I hit that too.
So how can you? What would help us with that?
Okay. Well, if you don't love wearing it, there's lots of other ways to bring yellow in. You can do it through flowers, through home decor. You can have a yellow color bath. I sell baths that you can actually bathe in the color. Nowadays, you go into like a La Senza, or something. You can get yellow bras. you can bring it in life in a lot of different ways. It says a lot about you, and if you're not loving it, do it in small doses and see what happens when you do, because it'll usually bring some issues to the surface.
Okay.
So you're holding them all, so I'm going to challenge you.
Okay.
One of the great things you can do every day is just say, what color do I need today? And you'll be gravitated to a particular color. So which color do you find out of the spectrum is a color that you're really attracted to?
I think today I would have to say this color.
Okay. I'm going to also say then what color are you least attracted to today?
Probably this color.
Okay, perfect. So believe it or not, that says a lot about you, because colors have energy and frequency. So blue, you chose almost the identical color to your jacket. So guaranteed you needed this color today. So blue is all about communication and expression, and you're interviewing, right? Yes. So what a perfect color for an interview. And it's about being that authentic self with integrity, which is amazing for today. Perfect. It's also a calm, relaxing color. So you think of the blue ocean, everything's very soft, so it keeps you in that state. Indigo, which is what you picked, because you didn't do the violet, you picked the dark purple indigo. That's about inner peace. So that's about meditation, connection to the spiritual side, finding the inner spirit. So right now, you're not in that mode. You're in business, work mode. But in your life, I'd say I want you to take a look, since it was your least favorite, where do you need to bring that into your life? Because it's all about balance, right?
Right.
And we need physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual balance. We forget that. All four have to be looked at every day.
Good. So this one would be, you could tap into maybe journaling.
Guaranteed.
Something like that, which is very beneficial. I do journaling a lot. And so really just spending time, quiet time.
Quiet time, breathing exercises. Go for a walk in the park and breathe in the air. If you're a believer of talking to, angels, loved ones, whatever, spirits, go for it. Anything that's just going to get you out of this realm and into, there's a bigger purpose for this. Mm-hmm. Or, gratefulness, like the attitude of gratitude. Yes. What are you thankful for today?
Yes.
That's the indigo energy.
And that is something I do every day as well, is the attitude of gratitude. And that's actually where we met when I was speaking on gratitude. So gratitude is very important. And I always say, what 10 things are you grateful for today? And if you can't write down 10 things, make them up, because we have a lot to be grateful for, even when we're going through times of turmoil.
So since you picked that as your least, I'd say for you, don't forget to do that for yourself, because you're brilliant at teaching it to others, but as someone who understands the teaching world, sometimes we forget to do it ourselves. Yeah, so it's about taking that time every day for us as well.
Okay, now what about green? Green, you were saying nurturing,
Yeah.
I do have my walls painted in a kind of a sage green at home.
Nice. So again, it's whatever color that shade works for you. Yeah. Green's the center of all. There's 3 colors below, red, orange, and yellow, and 3 colors above, blue, indigo, violet. So it's about balance, which I have my own t-shirt line, and that's why the green has the word balance on it. So it's all about everything in moderation, but it's a flow of giving and receiving. And so often we love to give, especially, throughout our lives, Christmas time on top of it. It's give, 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 give.
Yeah.
But we forget where there's a giver, there needs to be a receiver. And too often we forget that it's okay to receive. And it's okay to just say thank you. So if I was to give you a compliment and said, Laurie, you look awesome today. That blue jacket is stunning. What do you normally say?
Thank you.
Perfect. For the women out there that don't, and I say women because we're terrible at this,
Yes.
I'd be like, oh, I just picked it the other day, or I really need a new one, or
Oh, do you really like it?
yeah, instead of just saying thank you.
Yeah.
And we avoid that energy and we stop the flow. So it's about learning to receive the smallest compliment to somebody who maybe wants to do a phenomenal act of service for you.
Right. Okay,
So
great.
it's about being okay.
So now, red and orange.
Yep. So the passion and the play.
Yes. It's kind of funny they ought to get beside each other.
If you want some passion in your bedroom, bring in a red cushion and see what happens.
Okay, you heard that. Go buy a red cushion.
There you go. You don't want to paint your whole bedroom red. It might be a little too stimulating and you won't sleep. But you definitely can add just a little bit. If you need action, if you need to maybe get fire under you to start a new business or go after a new career, or maybe your foundations change because you're recently separated, that's something that you want to do is bring in the red. It's going to get some fire moving, give you some stability and some passion in life. The orange is playful, and we forget as adults to play.
Yeah.
We really do. So either, get with some kids and have some fun, or find a way to play. I mean, I love doing improv. So I'm part of an improv troupe, and we go and we laugh and we have a great time. Find something, watch comedy, whatever makes you tick to enjoy life. Your brain can't focus on stress if it's in a state of laughter. It's impossible. So if you have a lot of stress, find a way to play.
Find a way to play. That's great. And this purple.
So that's the violet, which is again the connection to something bigger. That's where the miracles happen. That's when we really start having to look at our belief system and saying there is something bigger and better, and what can we do to bring that into our lives.
That's awesome. And pink.
Pink I bring because pink is actually like the source of everything. It connects to the red and it connects to the purple. So when we're dealing with our energy centers, it connects us from the bottom to the top. And pink is about self-love. And really in life, we need to learn that, because self-worth and self-love are huge. So it's about what do we do to feed our souls and ourselves so then we can give and serve back to the world. So pink is like that hug that we need to give ourselves every once in a while, and we forget to do it.
Every day.
Yes, pardon me, every day.
Would be a good thing to hug yourself every day.
For sure.
Yeah, because I think we don't realize, how valuable our bodies are and how they get us from A to B. And sometimes we forget to thank our bodies for even letting us get somewhere every day. Right?
Guaranteed. And that's why I always say it's everything in moderation, and it's physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. And if we can remember that, we can help heal ourselves so much better. And color to me is just the simplest tool to learn. Like it's more fun because you remembered yellow stimulates the mind.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So it's a fun way. So whether you're 5 or you're 85 or you're in a corporation or you're just, somebody who wants some direction and guidance, it's a fantastic way to learn and teach.
Yeah, and the yellow, my daughter was doing an 8-month course in BC, and I said, don't forget to wear yellow, and she wrote her last exam last week, and she's
nice.
like, absolutely, that's something that's in her mind now too. So,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, it works really well.
Yeah, and it's really neat for people, like I said, go study your closet. See what color you have the most of and what you have the least of. Take a look at how much black is in your life, how much monotones. Very much in a home decor setting, like an interior setting, they're teaching very, very monochromatic. Everything's very plain, very white based, and it's gorgeous. But please add some color.
Add some color.
Because if you don't add a little bit, like a cushion or some flowers, or you're really saying, I'm not living.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you so much, Angela, for being here and bringing some color to the studio.
Oh, thank you for having me.
And I sure learned a lot, and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, so there you have it. Add some color to your house, to your decor, and it'll just cheer you up. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Persistence Pays. As I said, today we're talking about color, and this segment now we're going to talk about a different kind of color. We're going to talk about thermography, and thermography is a screening, and I'm going to let Dr. Mostovoy describe exactly what that is, and we have Laurie-Ann Whitnall in the studio as well. But thermography is a screening for
risk breast assessment.
For risk breast assessment. So if we look at, so just tell me a little bit about where thermography came from and how you've kind of come to do this kind of research.
I actually came into thermography as a critic, as a skeptic. So that started 13 years ago. 13 years ago was the start of my journey, if you wish. And since then, now we have 35 clinics around the world, most in Canada, in the United States, in South America. Thermography, as the word kind of implies, deals with temperature, just like colors.
Yeah.
It also deals with assessment. And thermography actually should be changed to thermology. So it's the science of heat, and heat naturally radiates from our skin. We are able to look at it and see what's going on behind the skin by assessing what actually comes out to the surface of the skin. So we naturally emit radiation, infrared radiation, that with the help of infrared camera, we can screen and see what's going on. Okay, so just like imagine you're having thermometer, right? Also sounds the same as thermography. Only one thermometer. Our infrared equipment allows us to have 78,000 little thermometers probing your whole body.
So when you go, and I did go to Laurie-Ann and have a thermography test myself because I wanted to understand what it was before we came on the air to talk about it. And really, you know, you make sure you don't have any heat under your armpits or where your body normally generates heat.
Right.
And then it's like it doesn't take very long and no pain. It's not like going for a mammogram. Mm-hmm. I always say, you know, mammogram is like going to put your breast in the car door and slamming the door shut. That's kind of what it feels like. So there was no pain with this at all, and it's really just a risk assessment tool. Is that how you would describe it?
There's no compression. There's no radiation. There's no contact. The reason, actually, the longest that you sit in thermography kind of room is when you are acclimating to that temperature. Right. So the protocol is that you come in, you undress, and you sit there for 15 minutes just to acclimate to that room temperature where it's kind of normal. Then we take a set of images, then we perform cold challenge, and then again we do another assessment after the cold challenge to see how you regulate, if you wish. And from there, all of that is sent to our reporting services where we look at that, analyze, and the system of analysis allows us to deal with risk assessment. So generally we look at TH1 low risk, TH5 high risk. Now let me say that, which I say actually to every single woman that I see. Just because someone is low risk, it doesn't mean that there is no risk. Just the same, just because someone is high risk, it doesn't mean that we're dealing necessarily with malignancy. But if we can look at thermography, because thermography really is a test of physiology. Okay, you mentioned mammography, which is also very useful. Mammography is a test of anatomy. Okay. Now, physiology will always precede anatomical or structural change. Let me give you an example. Before any kind of lump develops anywhere, particularly, let's say, in the breast, before a lump develops, it has to have blood supply. Especially if it's a malignant lesion, we're looking at something that's metabolically much more active. Now, because it's more active, it gives our brain a chemical message saying, we need more nutrients. And more nutrients are brought in by additional blood supply. That blood supply is going to register as additional heat, and this is exactly something that we can track. And if we can track that early enough, then we can forewarn that person that maybe something is going on and they can start making changes.
Right. Now you've brought some photos, some pictures in for us to take a look at, and maybe you can tell us what those pictures mean and how we can
gladly.
Understand
so when we're
a
looking
bit
at something like this, on the right-hand side, you're looking at a color scale. So just before, we're looking at darker colors that are cooler temperatures, and lighter colors are warmer temperatures. So for instance, you'll see, let's say, the right breast, which is on your left, mostly color green. You're looking at about 28, 29 degrees Celsius. When you're looking at yellow, it's maybe about 30, 31. Once we get into 34 degrees, everything becomes red. Now, the left breast, which is on your right because it's in reverse, you can see a lot of red. You can see that breast, the nipple temperature is much, much higher. So we're not looking really at colors because colors simply represent temperatures. This particular patient came to us many, many years ago, and she was routinely screened like she's supposed to with mammography for many, many years. And when we looked at something like this, my next kind of feeling is that this is definitely high risk. The next one we're looking at, again, something asymmetrical. When we see something asymmetrical on one breast, see, we have two breasts. So symmetry maybe is boring in artistic circles, but when it comes to your health, symmetry is the best thing that you have going for you, because naturally nasty things do not grow in symmetrical patterns. And this is finally before and after shot. Again, before you see a lot of vascular activity on your left side, and finally on the right side, you see 6 months later with simple things like adding indole 3-carbinol that's made from cruciferous vegetables, this particular patient is able to regulate her estrogen metabolism. And speaking about that, I think Laurie-Ann has an interesting story that just came up today. Yeah, do you want to share with us?
Sure. A friend of mine was screened over a year ago and came back with a medium risk area to watch, and followed up, and it again was elevated, and she took it to her doctor and they raised up the next level. Long story short, it ended up they did a biopsy in 2 locations that showed up on her her thermography screening, and the one has turned out to be early stages of cancer, and it's small enough that it's a lumpectomy, and it wasn't picked up yet on the structural test. So good news, bad news. Good news that they caught it early to do something, you know. So
it was through that screening that they came across that.
Yeah, and it's something that we had been watching the last year, and it hadn't been showing up on her other screenings. So, you know, it's an early detection, right?
Yeah. Now, thermography is not covered by OHIP. It's not covered, you know, through normal health plans. So
that's correct.
Women and men can have this as well, correct?
Well, generally we deal, when we deal with breast thermography, we generally deal with women.
Okay.
However, thermography could be used for all over the body. We're looking at dental screening, we're looking at thyroid. We can look at basically any structural change when we're looking at things like neuromuscular, neurovascular, anything to do with heat and or inflammation. And that's going to show up very well with thermography.
Okay, and so it's what is the cost to have a test done?
Breast thermography is $250.
Okay.
And that includes all the imaging and reporting, and even a small, short follow-up explaining the findings.
Right. And like, where does the scientific evidence come, like the research? Where does that
Actually, thermography started, of all places, in McGill Medical School in Montreal. So the first breast thermography study was done in 1956 by a Canadian physician by the name of Ray Lawson. So he thought about that obviously breast cancer is going to probably come up with something hot on the breast. And then he started experimenting with this technology. So that was the first ever study done around the world. Since then, we have had over 800 peer-reviewed studies published in the past 30, 40 years. There's a lot of science behind this. I mean, if you think about it, it's not that sophisticated because, you know, we're very much used to measuring temperature when we have fever. And I can tell you another story, that every single horse track in North America has thermography cameras. So they assess horses before and after racing. Why? Because they're very expensive animals. So they don't want to injure them, obviously, before or after. They can see if they have been injured, for instance, after the race. So the same thing applies, I think, to human anatomy and physiology, that we can look at things before, in some cases, definitely, before they even become painful.
Right.
That's how thermography is used.
So tell me, there's been some misconceptions about thermography on the news. So tell me about some of those misconceptions.
Well, some people kind of decided to say that thermography can replace mammography. This is absolutely not true. These are completely different tests. One, as I said, is a test of physiology and function, and the other one is a test of structure and change. But as I said before, there is going to be a change, there is going to be a functional or physiological change, and we can track that change. There's another misconception is that a lot of people think that it replaces mammography, and of course it doesn't. So we actually need two tests to get much better results in terms of early diagnosis. But it's not just about early diagnosis. I'm a big proponent of preventive medicine.
Right.
Because if we can warn someone like yourself and say, look, you maybe is at higher risk than you want to be, let's take a look and see what drives that risk. Maybe it's your hormones, maybe it's your diet, maybe it's your lifestyle, maybe it's emotional.
Yeah.
There may be different variables here. Let's sit down and work and try and lower your risk, and then come back in a year and see how your breast responds to all this.
And when you look at those pictures of the before and the after, you can see the difference.
Absolutely.
Some changes that that woman has made to have her go from all red to having more color.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, it's great. And I mean, I think we all are responsible for our own health, and doing anything that we can to remain healthy is a good thing. So I really want to thank you for coming on the show and sharing your light and your knowledge about thermography and how that can help women not to to help with their risk and help them to really take care of themselves and take care of their health. How can we find out more about thermography?
You can go to thermographyclinic.com. If anyone is interested in articles, they're there. We have 10 pages of studies. So just to back up that this is very scientific. We have videos, so if someone wants or is interested in this, definitely all the information is there. And thank you for having us.
Okay, well, thank you, Doctor, and thank you, Laurie-Ann. I really appreciate your time for coming and sharing this information with us. So thanks for joining in, and we'll see you next time on Persistence Pays.